What's up, everybody? I just wanted to shoot a really quick video going over what an iLok is. I've got a few questions on this and just something you should know and could be applicable to what we are doing this week, and certainly will be in upcoming weeks when we really start to talk about plugins, a number of which run on iLoks. So what is an iLok? So first of all, this was the original iLok, okay? So this is what an iLok is. It looks like a little USB jump or flash drive, okay? This is the iLok 1. It's blue, it's kind of translucent, and it's kind of funky shaped, okay? It has like a little key ring thing sticking out the side of it, which actually used to be kind of a pain in the ass, because if you tried to put two together in a row, they would bump into each other, and it was annoying. So that's an iLok 1, and this may be the one you're a little more familiar with. This is an iLok 2, okay? So this is the current model of iLok. And remember the shapes of these two things, because we're going to see them again here represented in a minute, okay? So iLok 1, iLok 2. So let's go to the iLok website. So what the hell is an iLok, right? Yeah, like it says here, it provides fast and simple license management. So the idea is when you buy a piece of software, that piece of software needs some sort of copy protection. Otherwise, you could download it and just give it to all your friends, and they could run it or post it on the internet, and everyone could use it without paying for it, right? And as fun as cracked software sounds, the reality is that none of this software would exist if everyone just stole it all the time, because people wouldn't make it anymore because they couldn't make a living making this great software that allows us all to have careers. So be cognizant of that when you're pirating. If you're pirating software and a lot of good stuff, you're really kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Anyway. So iLok. So there's a number of ways to go about copy protection. It could just be something simple like a serial number. So you buy a piece of software, they send you a serial number, you paste it in when you open the software, and then the software is ready to go, okay? Or it could be they have something called a challenge and response, which some less pieces of software use now, where they like ask you a question and you have to paste the question in their website and get the answer and blah, blah, blah. Just trying to put hurdles in front of anyone who's potentially going to use this software illegally is the idea, okay? Some software is hardware dependent, okay? Later on this semester, we'll look at plugins, like I said, and there's a company called Universal Audio, and they have some really great plugins. And what they've done is they sell their plugins, but they also sell a box. Now that box may be an audio interface, or it may just be a little box that has some DSP chips in it, okay, for digital signal processing. And the deal is you can open the plugin up in your DAW, let's say Pro Tools, and the plugin runs off of the DSP chips in that external box that you've plugged in with a Thunderbolt cable into your computer. So if that box isn't plugged in, the plugins literally can't run because they don't use your computer's native processor to run off of. They have to run off of this external, essentially a little external computer, if you want to look at it like that. That's their hardware protection. There's no way to crack that, right? Because you have to have the box to run the plugins. iLoks are not quite that extreme, okay? With an iLok, when you download, let's say Pro Tools, because Pro Tools is one of the programs that uses iLok, you download, and I'll show you how to do this, a license onto this little drive, okay? Now you can have a bunch of licenses on this drive. And when I go to open Pro Tools looks out to my USB ports, and it looks for an iLok, and it looks to see if a valid license is on this drive. And if it sees it, it opens, okay? If it doesn't see it, it doesn't open, and it says, hey, insert a valid iLok, or an iLok with a valid license on it, all right? And it periodically checks to see that iLok is there. So for instance, if you're running a Pro Tools session and you unplug this iLok, eventually Pro Tools is going to look for the iLok just to confirm things are still all good. It's going to not see it and shut your session down, okay? Or in reality, it asks you to save it and then closes the session until the iLok comes back, okay? So let's see how this actually works practically, all right? So here we are on the website, and when you first buy, let's say, Pro Tools, you may get an iLok, depending on if you buy the boxed version or not, or a piece of software like maybe Steven Slate's plugin, some of which comes with an iLok for free if you order it at the right time. So on and so forth. Today we're going to mess around with AutoTune. So I'm going to show you how I would download and authorize AutoTune using an iLok. And we're just going to use the demo of AutoTune today, but it's totally fine. It's the same way if it was the real deal. So I go to iLok.com and I would make an account. Now it's like you would on anything, right? You just username, email, password, all that kind of good stuff. I've already done that. And once we do that, we can actually go into the iLok website and start managing our licenses. Or, and I would recommend this, we can download an application that will run off your computer. It still needs the internet, but it's just kind of it's nice to have a separate app to me to manage all this stuff so I don't constantly have to go back to the iLok website. And that's what I've done. So I'm going to open up this iLok license manager, application, and here it is. So that's the only steps I've done so far is signed into the iLok website, made an account, and downloaded this, and now we're ready to go. So nothing's going on here yet. Now, just so you know, I have one iLok plugged into my computer now, as we're going to see. Now, I've got multiple, like a lot of people, I've got multiple iLoks, but right now only one is plugged in, okay? So I'm going to sign in. Usually go to my iLok usernames here. See if I can remember my password. Fingers crossed. All right, great. So it's signed into my account. Now, first things first, look over here to the left-hand side. It says I have 134 licenses. It says, then it's got this local thing here. And you notice I've got an iLok here that's kind of grayed out, and I've got one here that's dark, and I've got this picture of kind of a computer screen. It's also in a darker color. So this computer here represents the computer I'm on right now, okay? So keep that in mind. It'll make more sense here in a minute. This, you can probably guess, is the iLok I currently have plugged into my computer. It says, hey, this iLok is actually plugged into this computer and you have 49 activated licenses on it, okay? This iLok 3 here, is the iLok that I have sitting here that's not plugged in. If I plug this into my computer now, that would become dark because now it's plugged in and I could have access to it, okay? For now, we're just going to deal with one iLok. So I've got up at the top here now, I've got a variety of tabs to show me all the licenses I have had over the years. Some of which are still good, some of which are expired. You'll notice the dates on some of these are from the end of 2015 all the way back to 2009. I mean, some of them I just need to clean up and get out of here. And I've just been lazy, I'll be totally honest with you. But I could pretty easily do that. If I clicked on a license and I'm like, hey man, this is the complete production toolkit, which you learned a little bit about a couple of weeks ago, right? I used to have that in 2009. It let me take an earlier version of Pro Tools 8, and make it just like Pro Tools HD. It's not even supported anymore, right? It doesn't exist, so why is this here? So what I can do is right-click on this and say, hey, get this out of the way, hide this, and it'll move it. It'll say, hey, you sure you want to hide this license? It's going to be gone. You're not going to see it anymore. I'll hit OK. And it stuck it in this hidden tab over here. So there's a hidden tab, and it just lets me move crap out of the way that's just cluttering up my view. Okay, and as you see, I need to put a little bit of work into organizing this. So maybe I'll do that later. I mean, I look down here. I've got 5 licenses of Pro Tools 10 or something like that. It's ridiculous. So now I could not look at this tab and look at all activations, which are all my current activations, and that might make things a little bit easier on the eyes. It's not quite as long of a list, and I can see everything I have here. Fine. All right. For now, we want to put a new license onto this iLok over here so I can run AutoTune, the demo version of AutoTune, so I can try it out. Okay. So I'm going to go to available licenses. So these are the current licenses I have that I could drag and drop onto an iLok. Okay, so these live in the cloud on the iLok website, and I'm able to transfer them physically to the iLok that's plugged into my computer. I was going to try out Pro Tools first, if we haven't discussed it, but we have a little bit. There is a free version of Pro Tools out now called Pro Tools First. Used to be a free version of Pro Tools years and years ago. This is kind of their new attempt at this, all right? I want to try it out, get a little bit of better feel for what it is if we can use it in the class. Haven't done it yet, okay? There's one of my Pro Tools subscription plans, whatever, and then something from Sound Toys called Little Alter Boy, but I bought all the Sound Toys stuff, so I don't really need this one anymore because I already have it. Now, one thing to notice, check it out. Look where it says valid locations here, and notice the pictures that we have, okay? There's a picture of the computer. There's a picture of, what's that? That's an iLok 2, right? Remember the picture of the iLok 2 we saw, and this other one is a picture of an iLok 1. What that's letting you know is whether you can use, for instance, here's my Pro Tools subscription plan. Can I drag that onto an iLok 2? I can. You notice the iLok 2 is in black. If I still had an iLok 1, which I do, can I use a Pro Tools license on an iLok 1? In other words, if it was showing up here in this local list on the left, could I drag that license onto an iLok 1? I can't. I have to have an iLok 2, okay? You'll notice that Little Alter Boy, this Sound Toys plugin, I can drop onto an iLok 1 or 2, all right? So it lets me use either one. Now the computer is whether or not you can host the license without an iLok, but on your actual computer. In other words, can I just authorize this one computer to run this piece of software regardless of whether an iLok is plugged in or not? Not all software supports that. You'll notice that Pro Tools, the main Pro Tools plan, does not. So look at this guy. Notice that the computer is grayed out. Okay, that means we can't use an iLok 1. We cannot authorize Pro Tools to one computer. We can only use an iLok, all right? Whereas little altar boy doesn't care, right? I can authorize this computer alone to run that software, or if I want to be mobile and be able to tote my licenses around, I can stick it on an iLok. Interestingly, note that Pro Tools First doesn't need an iLok apparently, all right? So if you don't have Pro Tools at home and you want to download that and play around with it, by all means, it cannot hurt for this class, even though it's not the full-fledged version of Pro Tools. At least it will give you the ability to play around at the house, okay? And it actually is a pretty functional piece of software, I have to say. All right, not trying to drag this out. So let's go, what would happen if we wanted to go get auto-tune, all right? So I'm going to go to the Antares website. Let's see here. Let's just look up auto-tune. We say, oh, okay, auto-tune. We go to the Antares website, great. Stand by. Cool. So here I am, auto-tune 8. I want to try it out. So I hit try, okay? And it says, hey, a couple of things going on in this window, and this is super common for things that are iLok authorized. It says, on the right here, it says, hey, you want to download the plugin. What's your format? What are you using? Now we're going to talk more about plugin formats, so you'll know what all of these are. But for now, you'll know that Pro Tools, the current version of Pro Tools, uses AAX plugin. So if I want to run this in Pro Tools, in my case, I'm on a Mac, I would choose Auto-Tune 8 Mac AAX, all right? And I would download that, or whatever you're using, okay? So I've already done that. So I've got the software living on my hard drive that I just install like anything else. Double click on it, install, you're done. Okay, that means it's now going to show up in Pro Tools. If I reopen Pro Tools, whenever you install a plugin, you need to restart Pro Tools so it scans for that plugin, okay? Not all software works like that, where you can kind of rescan the plugins internally while the software's open. Pro Tools is best to restart it, as I've found, okay? That's simple. Let's do the iLok thing. So it says, enter your email address and your iLok user ID, okay? So I'll enter in my email address here and my iLok user ID. All right, I don't want to sign up for their newsletter. I think I'm okay with that, all right? So I'll transfer the trial license, and it says, okay, your trial license has been successfully deposited in your iLok account. I've got 10 days. As soon as I transfer that license to my iLok, the clock starts and I've got 10 days. 10 days is kind of a short demo, so that sucks. But to try this out, okay? So I'm gonna hit OK. So in theory now, if I go back over to my iLok License Manager software, notice what literally just popped up as we're sitting here. There's Auto-Tune 8, okay? It's letting me know that it expires 10 days after activation. All right, there it is, 10 days after activation. It's got the date. It even tells me that it's a trial, whereas you see the other things I have here are licenses, and my Pro Tools plan is an actual subscription. So it lets you know whether you bought the license, whether it's a demo, or whether you're subscribing on a month-by-month basis. That's what these mean over here in type. Does that make sense? I hope so. So let's do it. We're almost done. This is how simple this is, okay? Notice that I'm in the Available tab. I have to be in this tab because these are the available licenses that I have. They have not been used yet. I need to be on this tab. That's the mistake some people make, is that they don't go here, okay? And I can take this. Let's see if it works, all right? I'm going to literally drag and drop Auto-Tune 8 native license and drop it on my snazzy iLok here, okay? And it says, hey, you're about to authorize this. Are you sure you want to do it? We're going to move it to this iLok, and I hit OK. It takes a second, okay, where it says don't unplug your iLok, all that kind of good stuff. And what you can probably guess is now this iLok is going to say 50 activations. Remember it said 49 activations before? Well, now it's 50. And if I click on it, of all the things I see here, Auto-Tune is one of them. So now it lives on this iLok and with all the other stuff that I have, and we are good to go, if that makes sense. Okay, so pretty straightforward. As far as a way to work. Now sometimes iLok software, there's another level of protection, okay? So it's not just so easy that it's just going to drop it onto your iLok. They may give you a code, okay? So they may say, hey, before you can even drop this onto your iLok, enter an activation code in. And you'll notice over here there's this little I kind of a thing, and if you click on that, it lets you redeem an activation code. So if there's a code associated with it, that's where you paste it in. And sometimes that can be a little counterintuitive. You notice for the Auto-Tune thing so far, for the demo, that doesn't exist, right? We don't have to do that. But for other pieces of software, that will not always be the case, all right? And that's it. Now, if you're ever confused about something, like, want some more information on any of these licenses, if you double click on them, it opens up this details page, which tells us everything that's going on. It says, for little Alta board, for instance, okay? It says, hey, that license is active. That means it's cool. We can use it. It says, it gives the date that I put it on here, and it says how many activations I have. In other words, how many can, in this case, how many computers can I put it on, right? Because you notice that it can be put on an individual computer. So I can put this on 2 computers, or I should be able to put it on 2 iLoks if I have 2 activations, or just let you know how many different things you can put it on and who owns it, all that kind of good stuff, all right? Even with links to the website for the company. So pretty informative to come here and be able to do all this, all right? So it's just a real simple overview of what an iLok is. I just want to make sure everyone's cool with the concept. And now when I open Pro Tools, AutoTune will, and I go open up AutoTune, AutoTune will open for 10 days. After 10 days, it's going to give me a prompt that says, hey, you need to go buy this, your license is expired. And it's not so easy as going back to the AutoTune website and downloading another free trial, because it will only let me have 1 free trial on this particular iLok account. Now, I have 2 other iLoks, all right? So if I wanted to, I could use different email addresses and I could sign up different iLoks and do that. But that gets to be kind of a hassle, right? And then whoop-de-doo, I have 30 days and it goes away. So something to keep in mind. All right, I'm done. Good little introduction. I'll see you guys next video.